Sup, you beautiful bastards? Hope you're having a fantastic Tuesday. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show, and let's just jump into it. And the first thing I want to talk about, it's been heavily requested, something I wanted to quickly kind of dismiss and explain. In the past day, a lot of people have been sending me headlines like this one. PewDiePie vows to go family-friendly as he suffers major advertisement loss. And asking, is this what the beginning of the end of YouTube looks like? And my response to that is no. The first reason is that this headline is clickbait. PewDiePie, aka Felix, did say, "I'm going family-friendly," in a video that Polygon themselves, in the first line of the article, say is a new satirical video. A video where he says, "I gotta change, I love money too much." The headline seems like it's a legitimate thing, and then they go, just kidding. That said, yes, there is still a problem, primarily for channels that have always kind of been deemed in one way or another non-advertiser friendly, including myself. My videos through YouTube's ad network, we already weren't getting YouTube's primo ads. We aren't seen by them as advertiser friendly. But even I saw initially like an 80% drop, and then still to this day, it's about a 40, 50, 60% drop. And that's without talking about all the videos that have been demonetized. Certain genres of channels, like the gun channels, have been hit really hard. And there's a bit of a panic, and there's a bit of, we're going to have to evolve how we do things, how we fund things to continue living. And so that's why there are parts of Felix's video where you can tell, okay, that's not a joke. A lot of videos being demonetized, the videos that are monetized, the rates are lower. And so that's why I also think that it's a very smart thing that he is also launching a new show on Twitch. Whether you are a YouTuber or you are not, the best business advice in the world is always to never put all of your eggs in one basket. It's something I have preached for the past decade here on YouTube. I love YouTube, I'm critical of YouTube. YouTube will always be my home, they gave me my start, but I'm not gonna tie myself to that ship. Leave my potential success and future in the hands of people whose job is really not to look out for me, but to look out for their own company, where they have all the control. Also, at the same time, I'm aware that I am not deserved. YouTube doesn't owe me anything, advertisers don't owe me anything. And that's why we as creators need to diversify, we need to figure out plan B, plan C, plan D. And I feel like through this big bump in the road, we are gonna find that certain genres are going to have to be fan-funded. Whether subscription-based like Rooster Teeth's First program or just through Patreon. There may be better opportunities for certain genres, like people that normally make Let's Play videos. Instead of them doing that, maybe they find they end up making more money by doing longer live streams over on Twitch. For example, one of the reasons I sell shirts is because we have such horrible ad rates. Last week when we were doing the run of the Don't Be Stupid shirts, we made 8 times the amount of money off of that shirt and support from you beautiful bastards than we did from YouTube advertising. I love YouTube, but you gotta treat it like you're walking over a frozen lake and it's got cracks in it. Maybe just selling merch. And I'm not saying that this is not a hard time for a lot of people. That is not the case. But I do believe that what we are going through right now is just, it was inevitable growing pains. And I personally believe and hope that this is something that we will get through. And then let's talk about the updates and fallout from the United Airlines scandal. I talked about this yesterday. To fully understand the situation, I highly recommend you watch that video if you did not see it. United Airlines had a sold out and already boarded airplane. They wanted to have 4 of their employees on. They reportedly offered 400, then 800. I saw some reports saying 1,000, but that hasn't been confirmed. And then instead of offering even more money, they can do up to $1,300. They say our computer is going to select 4 of you at random, and you're going to have to just get off this plane. One man was selected. He's now been identified as Dr. David Dow. He said, "I can't give up my seat. I need to see my patients." United Airlines then called 3 security officers. They pulled him out of his seat, slamming his face against an armrest. He was dazed, he was confused, he was bloody, and there was mass outrage. So let's talk about what happened since I last talked about this. The first is that one of the officers that was involved in this incident that left the customer bloodied and battered, he has been placed on leave pending investigation. Which I'll be the first to say that just because someone is put on leave, that is not saying that that person is guilty in the eyes of the Chicago Police Department. But also to a lot of people, this was an odd move considering that just hours before they did this, they released a statement where they said the man fell, despite there being video evidence from multiple angles that contradicted that statement. Then we had the CEO of United Airlines, Oscar Munoz, otherwise known as the Reaccommodator. This because Oscar, PR Week's US Communicator of the Year, after video of this bloodied man being dragged off of the plane, released a statement, "I apologize for having to reaccommodate these customers." Well, he was back in the news because a letter he sent to the employees of his company got leaked, and it very much appeared that he was doubling down and not apologizing in any way. And in it, people are pointing out that he's pointing to the passenger as the main source of the blame. Key excerpts. While the facts and circumstances are still evolving, especially with respect to why this customer defied Chicago aviation security officers the way he did, I've included a recap. The situation was unfortunately compounded when one of the passengers we politely asked to deplane refused. Our employees followed established procedures for dealing with situations like this. While I deeply regret the situation arose, I also emphatically stand behind all of you. We sought volunteers and then followed our involuntary denial of boarding process, including offering up to $1,000 in compensation. And when we approached one of these passengers to explain apologetically that he was denied boarding, he raised his voice and refused to comply with crew member instructions. He was approached a few more times after that in order to gain his compliance to come off the aircraft, and each time he refused and became more and more disruptive and belligerent. Our gate agents were left with no choice but to call aviation security officers to assist in removing the customer from from the flight. He repeatedly declined to leave. And I'll link to the whole letter so you can see all the points he made. But looking at this letter, I have this feeling where he just does not see customers as human beings anymore. He talks about his employees being apologetic, following the rules. They were left with no choice. But this passenger, he was disruptive, he was belligerent, he defied. And for me, it kind of boils down to the point that he said, denial of boarding. Whether it be reaccommodating, denied boarding, I don't think that those words mean what you think they mean. The plane had already been boarded. You were not denying people boarding. You were kicking people off of a flight after they paid for a ticket, after they then exchanged that ticket for their seat on the airplane and were waiting to take off. And once again, even in your statement, if instead of $800 you offered $1,000 compensation, your employees that you are defending, your company did not offer the maximum amount of money you could offer to passengers. Then on top of the mass outrage we had inside of the United States, there was mass outrage in China. On Weibo, China's version of Twitter, this was one of the top trending topics. People were announcing that they were boycotting the airlines, they were canceling their tickets, they were cutting up their membership cards. The captions along with some of these. The official response feels so patronizing. I've canceled my mileage card. Some didn't care what his nationality was, though many said, he's Chinese and this is discrimination against Chinese people. One comment reading, I feel really pissed. There's so many people, why make a 69-year-old Chinese doctor who needs to work the next day disembark? And you beat him up and drag him out? Shocking. And your computers just so happen to choose an Asian. Suspect. If the doctor wasn't Chinese, I might not have said a thing. No matter where you're from, if you're Chinese, our fates are tied together. We have to fight for our own future. And so this is a huge problem for United because China is one of their key markets. And on top of all of the outrage on social media, this has already had a real-world impact for United Airlines. It's being reported this morning from Fortune.com that they have already lost $1.4 billion in company value. Shares of the company had dropped 6.3% in pre-market trading. Early this morning, the stocks were down 4%. There was also a belief from some experts that because United Airlines was being hit in this scandal, the other airlines would succeed. That really wasn't the case. Southwest Airlines, Delta, JetBlue, all of their stocks dropped around 1%. Although shares for American Airlines jumped 2%, but that might not be related to this incident. Also, as a side note, yesterday I saw a lot of people saying, well, Phil, what's your favorite airline? Since, it's easy for a lot of people to be negative. That's a simple answer. JetBlue right now is my favorite airline. I've never personally had a problem with them. The staff has always been very kind and courteous. Their thinking as far as the internet is very forward thinking. A lot of the time it's so much better than the garbage internet the other places sell. And actually, if you look into the stats for the number of people that are booted from flights, they are in the bottom 3. But wait, the story is still somehow not over. As what happens with any national and now international story, information surrounding the passenger in this incident has come out. And when it comes to this situation, there are people that are arguing that this is a side story. It does not affect the facts of the situation that we're talking about now. This is meant to hurt the image of the passenger and thus make it look like United was maybe not in the wrong. While others argue, no, this is pertinent to this situation because it is a situation that involves his character. If he's a good or a bad person, that changes the situation on whether he egged the officers on, if he exaggerated, he brought it on to himself. So let's talk about what this information is. Like I mentioned, the passenger has now been identified as Dr. David Dow. Dr. Dow was reportedly charged in 2005 with 98 felony drug counts for illegally prescribing and trafficking painkillers. Prosecutors claim Dow fraudulently filled prescriptions for hydrocodone, Oxycontin, and Percocet. Dr. Dow was also convicted on 6 felony counts of obtaining drugs by fraud and deceit, and in 2005 was given 5 years probation. Dow was also convicted for writing prescriptions and checks to a patient in exchange for sex. Although Dow says he has a defense here in medical board documents. He denied paying for sex, but indicated he accepted sexual favors from an associate in exchange for reducing a debt that associate owed him. So I didn't exchange drugs or money for sex, but, if someone owes you $100 and then they put part of you in their mouth, sometimes that $100 owed becomes less dollars owed, which I will say is a pretty shoddy defense. But here is part of his past that I do think pertains to this situation. In 2005, Dr. Dow surrendered his license to practice medicine in Kentucky. But in 2015, the medical board lifted his suspension, allowing him to practice medicine again. But then last year, the medical board put restrictions on his ability to practice medicine to the point where he can only practice internal medicine in an outpatient facility 1 day a week. And so this has changed some people's minds, where other people are saying that this doesn't pertain to the situation. This is an airline treating a passenger. Doesn't matter who. And so I pass that question off to you. With all of this new information, the leaked letter from the United Airlines CEO, their point of view, the new information coming out about Dr. David Dow's past, does any of that change your opinion of what transpired? I'd love to know what you're thinking and why here. And actually from that, I want to share some stuff I love today, and today and awesome, brought to you by the Don't Be Stupid shirt. You guys ordered so many in last week's run that it auto-started another run this week. There are 2 more days. If you missed out last week, you want to get one now. Link to that down below. And the first bit of awesome, if you are a fan of the Star Wars franchise, you are a fan of charity. It is that time again. Lucasfilms is collaborating with UNICEF. It's a little thing they called Star Wars Force for Change. I use the term little thing just jokingly. They've raised millions of dollars for charity. And it's essentially a giant raffle/store. You can donate $10, that's 100 entries. If you donate more, you can actually get an item as well as more entries. $100 gets you 1,000 entries plus a Chewie shirt. $500 you get the trilogy poster set as well as 5,000 entries, and so on and so forth, up to their top donation of $50,000, which is 500,000 entries to win, as well as an exclusive screening of Star Wars: The Last Jedi for you plus 20 guests in your hometown. But the main prize, which is what the raffle is for, if you win, you get to spend a night at the Skywalker Ranch. Depending on your feelings about the prequels, maybe George Lucas is in there. And you get to go with the cast to the premiere of Star Wars: The Last Jedi. That, of course, covers flights and 4-star accommodations. And the biggest thing for all the nerds out there, you get to visit the set of the upcoming Han Solo movie and have a chance to appear in the film. Something I want to give a little promo love to. Then, the next bit of awesome, I had already talked about United Airlines so much. The memes around this, it's so good, so funny. I just had to link you to some of the best ones. Then, the Honest Trailer guys gave us an honest trailer for Rogue One. A warning though, if you haven't seen the movie, there are spoilers in it. And if you want to see the full versions of everything I just shared, the secret link of the day, anything at all, links as always are in the description down below. And then I want to talk about this guy. Does he look familiar? He might look familiar because he is the pastor who, in the wake of the Orlando nightclub shooting that killed 50 people, he tweeted, "Been through so much with these Jacksonville homosexuals that I don't see none of them as victims. I see them as getting what they deserve." Well, the news coming in this week is that Pastor Ken, who, by the way, fuck you, you disgusting, hate-filled bigot, he has been convicted on 8 charges related to child molestation. Prosecutors claim that Pastor Ken had methodically groomed 2 teenagers to have sexual intercourse with him when they were just 15 years old. One of the teenagers was male, the other one was female, which of course had a lot of people going like, what are you saying about the gays? But I do also want to point out that it is very important for us to not associate gay with pedophile. With gay, you have people that are just attracted to the same people of the same gender, bi, both genders. And pedophile, you have people that are sexually attracted to children. If they don't act on it, that's where it remains, but then it could also go into child molestation. And even there, while I am disgusted by both groups, I feel like it is important to properly label both groups. And that is a predator-prey situation. Child molesters are the most disgusting. If there was a list where you could curb stomp child molesters, I would pay for your spot if you were ahead of me. But I guess the main point of this story is Pastor Kenneth Atkins should no longer be remembered as the pastor who said those horrible things about the people who were killed in that shooting. But rather, Pastor Kenneth Atkins is the man who was convicted for sexually molesting a boy and girl. Enjoy prison, buddy. And then briefly, let's talk about Syria. Yesterday, I saw a small but vocal group saying, "Phil, why aren't you talking about Donald Trump shooting Tomahawk missiles into Syria?" And the 2 main reasons I didn't talk about it, one, it happened Thursday night. I didn't have a Friday show, and it was talked about heavily in the news cycle for 72 hours. And the second is, I don't know what the hell it means. What I mean by that is, I understand what missiles do. I understand why Donald Trump says that he shot them. I understand where people stand regarding him shooting those missiles. But I am unsure what this means for the long term. Donald Trump has said time and time again, we should not be involved in this situation. But then reportedly we see an Assad-backed chemical attack. Some argue the president saw this and saw the children dying and he was forced to act. Others are going further based off of an Eric Trump interview saying that Ivanka talked to Donald Trump. The article reads, Eric Trump said he is sure his sister Ivanka used her influence over their father to encourage the US president to launch military action against Bashar al-Assad. So whether the president is that easily pulled by his daughter, that isn't even the biggest issue to me. The issue is, where does the United States stand from here on out? Is the president of the United States only against chemical attacks? If the Assad regime bombs another building and they kill 20, 30 other children, do we still care? Do we care to the point where we're going to shoot more missiles? Do we care to the point that we're going to more heavily arm people? Would we put people on the ground? How involved or uninvolved are we going to be from here on out? Are we willing to fight Russia, who is backing Assad? Or was it a one-off to show that you are not like Barack Obama, where you make threats, but you don't really pull the trigger in Syria? And also, what does that accomplish? Because we've got the president who said one thing and then did another in a very quick time span. Then we have the US Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson. He just a few days ago said that a regime change in Syria not a priority for the United States. But then we have new news where Rex Tillerson says it's clear to all of us that the reign of Assad family is coming to an end, adding that Russia has either failed to take commitment to stopping chemical weapons in Syria seriously, carelessly or as incompetent. Then you have representatives of the G7 meeting. They can't seem to agree. You've got Boris Johnson calling for targeted sanctions against senior Russian and Syrian officials. Then you've got Sigmar Gabriel saying that there is no solution for Syria without Moscow and Tehran. We need to involve them. The Italian foreign minister saying we can't push Russia into a corner on this issue. The Italian foreign minister saying at the moment there is no consensus on new sanctions as an effective instrument. And the G7 on Syria reconstruction said no step in such direction will be possible until a credible political transition is firmly underway. Meanwhile, Russia has warned of extremely serious consequences for this American strike, also reportedly suspending key military agreements with the United States. And now a defense official is saying the Russians are sending 2 corvettes, not that one, yeah those, an oiler and also a tugboat, which sounds adorable. But the big note there is they're not just sending this, these are joining the 6 other Russian warships that are already in the area, along with 4 other support vessels. And while that's happening, we have the whole North Korea situation. This one involving North Korea, the United States, and China. This morning, Donald Trump tweeted, "I explained to the president of China that a trade deal with the US will be far better for them if they solve the North Korean problem. North Korea is looking for trouble. If China decides to help, that would be great. If not, we will solve the problem without them. USA." These tweets seemingly a response from North Korean state media warning of a nuclear attack on the United States if they sense any US aggression whatsoever. And so I guess to bring it all back to that original, why didn't you talk about Syria? There is that first reason, but the second reason is very much no one knows what the fuck is going on. It is horrifying. The experts out there are going like, I don't know. It just feels like we're going into potentially uncharted territories on several fronts. And it doesn't feel like leadership, whether it be one person or an entire administration, have one fully thought out idea. And I don't know if opinions are just evolving and if there is debate or if it's based off of people just being wishy-washy. And I feel like a big part of why people like this show is I'm able to provide clarity to situations, and I can provide no such thing in this situation, except maybe to make you feel okay and not crazy, to be genuinely freaked out and confused. And that's actually where I'm gonna end today's show. And remember, if you liked this video, you like what I do on this channel, hit that like button. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Also, if you missed and wanna watch yesterday's Philip DeFranco show, you can click or tap right there. If you wanna see the newest vlog, you can click or tap right there. But that said, of course, as always, my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.